In today's lecture, I will tell you how to properly and effectively establish dominance over a woman. I will provide you with practical information that you can start using immediately. Most men become prisoners of their own wrong decisions. They fail to assert themselves with women, and even when they do, they don't do it effectively, which leads to negative consequences, turning them into tyrants. They accumulate resentment, become jealous, and eventually start speaking to women in the language of ultimatums. When they realize that this approach doesn't work, they become even more disoriented, making numerous mistakes, which weakens their position and makes them undesirable to women. Let's take a classic and common example to better understand the topic. Suppose you meet someone, there is mutual attraction, everything is going well. You spend a lot of time together, the woman shows care, you take care of her, birds are chirping, the weather is great, everything seems perfect. But there is something in her life, perhaps a hobby or a part of her social circle, that bothers you and makes you uneasy. It could be anything, but let's take the most common example. Let's say she has male colleagues with whom she has a close relationship, or childhood male friends she still hangs out with. In this situation, most men choose one of two strategies, and I will say outright that both are wrong. The first is to convince themselves that everything is fine in the relationship. There are no problems. There is love, care, and affection. So why stress over it? Why focus on negativity when things are good right now? This mindset leads to ignoring the problem, which only means postponing it for the future. The man continues the relationship, but lacks a strong sense of ownership over it, though deep down it bothers him. He ignores it until months or even years pass, and then the moment comes when his frustrations surface. He gets openly tense, jealous, and angry. And at that point, the issue that was ignored from the start resurfaces. The woman was always this way, and the man initially accepted it. But now, seeing her smiling while texting a male friend, he gets irritated and starts making demands. He tells her, "I don't like this." But remember, this approach always weakens your position. Expecting a woman to suddenly say, "Oh, I didn't know it bothered you. Okay, I'll stop talking to them," is pure fantasy. That won't happen, and it's pointless to rely on it. From the woman's perspective, you agreed to these terms from the beginning, you knew how her life was, and now you suddenly want to change the rules. This makes you appear inconsistent in your actions and decisions, which weakens your credibility. If, by chance, your relationship was initially structured in a way where you held a strong position and had significant value in her eyes, she might consider compromising. But the reality is that this method still doesn't work. The second scenario is when a man realizes from the start that this dynamic doesn't suit him and immediately lays down the law, telling the woman, "I don't want a relationship where you stay in contact with male friends." From that moment on, he expects her to cut ties with them, insisting that she now has a man in her life, and such behavior is inappropriate. But here's why this creates a major problem down the road. By doing this, you are only restricting the woman. Her inner reality does not change. It's like taking out a loan that will eventually need to be repaid with interest. When you restrict a woman, not only does her internal perspective remain the same, but she also begins to harbor resentment toward you. She has her own views on the situation, but for now, as long as she values you and feels emotionally engaged, she chooses to ignore it. However, at some point, usually at the worst possible moment, she will confront you with complaints. She will say, "You control me, you suffocate me, you've turned me into a servant, you made me cut off all my friends," and the list of grievances will go on and on. Many men are familiar with this situation. This is precisely why neither restricting a woman nor forcing compliance solves the problem. In reality, neither of these approaches is true dominance over a woman. What do I propose? In reality, a great deal of awareness is required here. But rather than calling it awareness, we can simply call it intelligence. Let's go through this step by step. Imagine a radical scenario. Let's say I meet a woman, and my behavioral model is so effective that she becomes obsessed with me and desires me intensely. In this situation, I realize that no matter what demand I make, she will agree to everything with enthusiasm. This is because I have entered the relationship from a position of extreme strength, and in her mind, my value has reached its mathematical peak. There is no higher. As a result, when she tells me she will no longer do something, I understand that she is lying. Not because she is consciously deceiving me, but because she sincerely believes her own words in that moment. This happens because she is overwhelmed by neurochemical hormones. However, I also understand that over time, her receptor's sensitivity to these neurochemicals will decrease. And at that point, no amount of effective behavior from me will change anything. This is simply a biochemical and physiological inevitability. I recognize that her promise is not an act of free will. I realize that before meeting me, she was making choices freely, and those choices reflect her true nature. Therefore, I also understand that in the future, all of this will turn into complaints from her, claims that I am suffocating and restricting her. What is the most effective approach in this situation? You meet a woman, go on a few dates, and realize that there are aspects of her life that make you uncomfortable. Let's use the same example as before. You should simply state that you cannot imagine a serious, long-term relationship with a woman who has close relationships with other men. That you are skeptical about the idea of men and women being just friends. However, your words should not carry negativity. It should not sound like this is something that deeply disturbs you. If it does, the woman will sense that you want her too much, which means rejecting you will be difficult for you, giving her leverage over you. Instead, you should communicate this information as neutrally and casually as possible, with a smile, simply expressing your position. No arguments, no discussions are necessary. Then, you continue the relationship as usual. At some point, when you feel the timing is right, perhaps when you first experience even a minor misunderstanding or tension in the relationship, and this will inevitably happen, you must be prepared for that moment. You must not ignore your own feelings. You need to recognize when this moment arrives. And at that exact moment, you should say the following. Listen, Kate, I really enjoy being with you, but under these conditions, I can't quite envision the proper development of our relationship. So, we can maintain the connection we currently have, but I don't think it's right to take things deeper. The fact is, we don't see things the same way. You need a different type of man, someone with different views on relationships, and that's not me. You can say this in person or through a message. And under no circumstances should you back away from this topic if she starts talking about the future of the relationship. You should address it right then and there. What happens next? Someone without experience might think the woman will immediately walk away and never look back. That's not how it works. This is a form of negotiation. She might respond immediately, saying that you are overthinking things and should just relax. Here, you need to confidently stand your ground and say, "No, I fully understand what I'm saying." She might also tell you that she values the relationship and will take your concerns into account, assuring you there won't be a problem. Or she might say, "It's unfortunate that it turned out this way. We had a great connection. But I understand that everyone has their own perspective, so I wish you the best in finding the right woman for you." None of this is truly honest. As I said before, this is all part of a negotiation. Accordingly, the fact that you distanced yourself from her will 100% bother her, and she may reach out to you at any moment. She is simply observing your reaction. Under no circumstances should you start dramatizing how tragic this situation is. Remember that, up until now, your interactions and meetings with her have been entirely positive. You never complained to her, argued that she was wrong, or did anything similar. You did not accumulate negativity. And for those who have done so in the past, this should be a lesson. Never do that. It serves no purpose. If things unfolded according to this scenario, she will inevitably reach out, whether in 10 minutes, a day, or 3 days. This is because you handled everything smoothly and elegantly. And when she does message you, she is essentially signing a new contract, agreeing to new terms. But now, we need to look even deeper into this. If you think this is enough, you are very, very mistaken, my friend. Even if she explicitly tells you that she will consider everything and respect your boundaries, you must still refuse her. However, you should maintain a baseline level of goodwill. You can say something like, "I would love to continue seeing you because, honestly, you are a wonderful person. But I also understand that today you might say you're fine with these boundaries, yet tomorrow you may feel restricted or uncomfortable. Or at some point you might start to feel that I'm limiting your freedom." Essentially, you are preemptively addressing the potential complaint she might have in the future. You are putting her in a position where she now has to convince you that this will never happen. Everything is clear to her now. She can make a free choice. If she chooses to convince you, she is already entering the relationship from a significantly weaker position. Moreover, she will never be able to blame you objectively for anything related to this issue in the future. And the best part? Executing this approach is incredibly simple. You just need the courage to do it. However, if you are more afraid of losing the woman than prioritizing your own comfort, you won't be able to pull this off. If you are willing to sacrifice yourself and the relationship just to keep her, that is a serious problem. Naturally, you won't be able to handle this scenario correctly. You can only execute this strategy if you genuinely find the situation unacceptable, if it truly bothers you, and if you are ready to end the relationship immediately because of it. As I always say, bluffing is not a solution. Imitation is not progress. No one is restricting your choices. You choose your own future, and later, you suffer the consequences of that choice. You regret signing a contract that was against your best interests simply because you couldn't say no to a woman at the right time. I think we can all agree that what I just described is a simple and straightforward approach. Yet, it yields immense benefits. For example, when you start a relationship with a problematic woman, you need to understand that sooner or later there will be a power struggle over who leads the relationship. However, by setting the tone in advance, you establish the dynamic where her role in the relationship is clear. As a result, she won't stage a massive rebellion later on. Of course, we understand that a problematic woman will always bring some level of trouble, but you will already be prepared for it. You will anticipate it like a grandmaster in chess. Even with minor issues, you will have the ability to maneuver through distancing, which automatically means she is violating the agreed-upon terms, and you will downgrade her status in your mind accordingly. This forces her to work to regain the value she lost in your eyes. And most importantly, you will do all of this with complete confidence and without guilt, because you haven't done anything wrong. This is exactly why she will come back to you quickly. Her brain will start releasing dopamine and oxytocin again, and she will feel the urge to earn back the points she lost through her misbehavior. This will intensify her desire for you, deepening her emotional attachment. The key takeaway here is that such a simple and effortless approach can yield highly effective results. With the right timing and strategy, you can maintain a comfortable and long-term relationship even with a problematic woman. Of course, I don't recommend it, but let's be honest. You chase problematic women anyway. That's why I'm explaining this mechanism, so you can at least keep things under control. Once again, I want to emphasize that I just gave you a very simple formula for putting a problematic woman in her place, while ensuring she remains satisfied with her position. This strategy applies to any relationship because the vast majority of women are, in some way, problematic. There will always be something in their lives that causes you discomfort. So what is the biggest mistake most men make? They believe a woman's promises. They believe her when she swears, "I will never do this again." And then, when she inevitably breaks that promise, they start arguing, fighting, and trying to resolve the issue through confrontation. This is how negativity accumulates in a relationship, leading to further problems. But when you truly understand a woman's nature, you gain control over her, and you guide her calmly and smoothly in the desired direction, without resistance, without unnecessary stress. You already know that a woman's promises mean nothing, so you don't take them seriously. You understand that she is in love, but she herself doesn't even realize the nonsense she is saying. She is like a little child, cute and innocent now, but if you emotionally engage with her like a naive romantic, she may eventually turn into a destructive monster. A problematic woman is a slave to her emotions. She is trapped by them, and those emotions need to be managed. However, to control her emotions, you must first learn to control your own. Without a strong mentality, you won't succeed in this. Our online lectures will soon be available for purchase on our website. Stay tuned for more details, and don't miss the chance to take your knowledge and skills to the next level. Thank you for watching. If you found this content helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay updated with more valuable insights and tips. Also, make sure to follow us on our social media accounts linked in the description for exclusive updates, discussions, and content. See you in the next video.